Men who are jerks and who break traffic laws prefer high-status cars. A study says. A new study out of Finland finds out only drivers of expensive cars are more likely to break traffic laws, but they're also more likely to be self-absorbed jerks. And overwhelmingly male.
Hello, sir. Are you a self-absorbed jerk? Well, yes, I am.
Oh, well, thank you for the self-report. I can fill that out. I am a self-absorbed jerk. Glad you have a spot for that. The answers are unambiguous, self-centered men who are argumentative, stubborn, disagreeable, and unempathetic are much more likely to own a high-status car such as an Audi, my choice, BMW, or Mercedes.
Not only assholes drive Mercedes.
They drive Audi and BMW too. Science, bro. But they wondered whether it was the car that made them aggressive or whether it was certain types of people drawn to those cars. So they asked 892 people because they just ran out of funds before they could hit 2,000. Then they analyzed the answers using the Factor 5 model of personality,
Okay.
the taxonomy of personality traits used by psychologists, the OSHA, blah, blah, blah. Okay, great. So, Big Five, great. It's some type of starting point.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be completely scientific or accurate. And they know that. They're like, all right, let's just have some standard that we're judging everybody by.
Okay.
And see where they sort out.
So they did actually give him a test. And that many people are like, I'm an asshole. Like,
I guess they would fill out the little fake questions, self-report, and then they would be doing studies from there. So it's like, yeah, you're getting the same problem that the personality community here has, and that is the self-reporting thing is just so low.
These are people who see themselves as superior and are keen to display this to others.
Okay, so I like how stuff that everybody already knows is starting to bubble up in the test. That's what we're all looking for.
Right.
Where does it say that they're self-absorbed? Where does it say there's jerks? Where does the study find that they think they're better than everybody?
Right.
Because we already all know that,
Right.
right? Researchers found that conscientious consumers defined as being respectable, ambitious, reliable, and well-organized were also drawn to high-status automobiles. Such people attach importance to high quality and sending a message to others that they themselves are reliable.
Okay.
Right?
Okay, sure.
If you're a clean-up guy, you want to show that.
You want to show that you have the money to be relied on.
Right.
Okay.
Interestingly, the latter finding applied to both conscientious men and women. So there's asshole women out there, it turns out. Study found. Suggested that this could be because women don't see cars as status symbols in the same way men do, which is kind of consistent with what everybody already knows.
Yeah.
That you do see these kind of elitist asshole people that do drive these kind of fancy cars.
Right.
As well as nice people that have kind of, got their shit together.
Right.
They don't want to drive some 1984 Honda around, because then it's unreliable.
Right, there
it's
you
falling
go.
apart or whatever the car is.
Sure.
It's interesting, too, that it's the status.
We've been paying a lot of attention to status. The status versus character game. Cars, houses, any kind of way that you could grab up something in a shortcut manner. Like, say, your parents had a lot of money and they gave you the car. It's like a outward sign of, in some way, shape, or form, you've fake either gotten or you've earned and gotten this outside shiny thing that means that your status is higher than somebody else.
Right.
So we don't respect it as much as something like character that you have to build that. You have to go after going through the actual hardship to create that internal growth. But nobody can see that on the outside, Right,
but if you have good character, then you also want to have a good car so you can look clean and take care of yourself and be respectful to others, which is kind of what the study's saying as well.
Right, yeah. Yeah, we definitely have seen it okay, you and I have to still play the status game. Even if I'm like, that's so stupid, I hate that. It's like, I still have to learn to play that game so that I'm not just completely screwing over the animalistic drive in all of us of okay, you do have to show that in some way, shape, or form, you're able to climb the ladder. I mean, that's kind of the human game, a part of the human game.
But I also remember Darren Brown spending he would spend a lot of work in little weird random details like this with people's lives. Like he would ask, how do you dress in the morning? What shoe do you put on first? Where do you work? What kind of car do you drive? He would always ask these very weird, specific questions.
Yeah.
Because he's tying to all right, so how you do this is telling me a lot about how you're playing out your own psychology.
Because you would make so many observations and decisions based on, if that's your core goal, even whether you're conscious of it or not conscious of it, you're going to make every single decision from even how you wake up in the morning, how you tie your shoelaces, based on that core goal of status, constantly thinking about status unconsciously, but you're still going to move in that direction,
Right, because our brains all want to go okay, if you go to parties and you like dancing, then you must be this type. If you're empathetic, you must have FE, right?
Yeah, it just messes it up.
If you're a rich asshole driving this car, you must be this type.
I know.
That's what our brains keep looking for.
Yes.
And the problem is, yes, there is some consistent patterns that certain types, if you have Savior FE, chances are, in a batch of 1,000 people, you're going to be more empathetic than the average idiot.
Right.
Kind of true.
Right. And like even hearing that right now, I know that's going to unconsciously get stuck in somebody's head. And when they go to type, that's going they like go ahead and try and pry that from somebody's hand. Like, well, they weren't empathetic. They were actually an asshole. So they couldn't possibly be empathy.
Right.
That is the kind of stuff that we're like, careful anecdotes. You know?
Exactly. But it's not that it doesn't cluster. So it's like,
Absolutely.
like what I've really had to learn to do is like, okay, if I see some rich asshole driving a car, chances are it could be, you know, masculine, introverted decider, DI, male. Okay, chances are. Studies show chances are.
Right.
But then it's going backwards and going, all right, so what are your reasons? Like, why are you empathetic at parties? Right? Like, oh, well, that's actually been my life's mission, and it was really hard for me, and I was on the opposite side, and like I wanted to work towards that, and this is a learned behavior, and I'm doing it from my demons. Like, okay, wow, there's a lot there. Versus, oh, I don't know, I just normally do this.
Right. I'm Savior TE at the top, and I learned empathy and emotion and connecting with people on an emotional level.
Right.
That kind of thing. Why? What's your journey? What's the core? What's your core human need? What is your reoccurring patterns? That kind of stuff. You know?
Yeah. So I guess it's just a good example of what we're seeing at scale of like, yes, you can have somebody driving erratically in a sports car, and yes, there are some common patterns and traits of why that's happening, but then you'll find some super nice person that has arrived at that same sensor thing, but for a different line of thought, different reasons.
That's good.